You're now watching a clip from the Inspired by show. You can watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or listen on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, and follow the show.
What do you really want to do? Because I was looking at other commercial roles. I love property and I love helping people. When I talk to people at Accenture and I talk about the property, everyone says, like you said at the beginning, I'd love to do it. I'd love to be involved. And I was like, well, this is how you do it. And Accenture is all about consultancy and support and outsourcing. Maybe I could outsource myself and help people to buy property for a fee, for a commission. Should is the role in that? So I've got no idea, but let's go and find out. And of course, now I know there's a whole industry around it. It's property sourcing, and you have to be compliant. And I went and did all of those things to help other people. And through the property sourcing, I absolutely was underselling myself completely, because I was like, how do I go and help people to do this? How do I? And I was sourcing a project and working with a guy, and then he couldn't continue on it. And was really, really certain that he could do it. And I'd explained to him why he could do it and how I would support him and what we would do, but he wasn't going to. And I just sat and I looked at it and I was like, I'm so certain he could do it. Why couldn't I do it? If I can get the funding, then I'm going to go and do this myself. And I took it to a mortgage broker and he said, well, so we need to understand what your portfolio, have you got experience? It's got this portfolio. Can you send me the detail? And I sent it to him and he just laughed. He's like, seriously, Colette, you've got a portfolio that's worth £2 million and it's only leveraged at 50%. It's like, yeah, I didn't know that. Because we operate and we only ever look at what the next job is and what next is to do. So I'd bought these properties 10 years before, between sort of 40,000 and 95,000, and they'd all gone up considerably in value, which I knew, but we weren't taking much more out of them, or when we were just reinvesting. But for each property, I'd never sort of summed it all up. There was never any requirement to. And so then I looked at that and I was like, that is brilliant. And I then started learning about private investment. And I thought, well, people are doing this private investment and investing money in people's. Would their money be safer with me? And so I went through all of that again. I was like, yeah, it absolutely would. Went to the development financiers to say, will you lend me the money to buy this building and development? Yes. So then I had everything set up. So I put a pack together where I put it out to private investors. It says we have all the money secured from a development lender. They'll lend us the money to buy the building. They'll lend us the money to draw down and do the development. But they're a pain in the backside to work with. And actually, I'd much rather, if people want to invest with us privately, we pay our interest to lovely people rather than to the investment companies. And it's a balance when we do both. And so we've been doing that for the last year now as well. And most of my investors are women, which is wonderful because they weren't investing before. They were, in the bank or in an ISA. Nowhere else were they investing. And to be able to provide something where they feel safe to put their money in and they're seeing their returns is just brilliant.
Yeah. And especially when it is for other women who, let's be honest, this is a big generalization, big sweeping statement coming, but a lot of women fall into the self-depreciating trap, which you just described, oh, but I'm only doing this a little bit and I'm not doing that well. And we very rarely stop and go, actually, I'm freaking smashing this. I'm doing really well, And I'm the same. All my team are women, not intentionally. A lot of my clients are women, not intentionally. And I think it's nice to give a platform and give the opportunities to other women. How have you found it, though, being a female in, let's be frank, a very dominated male industry? Do they treat you differently? Do you get those looks where it's like, oh, she might be the secretary or whatever? Because I've certainly had that in my industry.
Yeah, I love it. I don't care. So I'm a female investor. I just go on and do it. My upbringing was amazing. My mum, my grandma, my Auntie Betty, very matriarchal. There was nothing you couldn't do because you were a woman. That just wasn't even something that I thought of growing up. It wasn't that I, grew up, I was bolshy, but it wasn't that I grew up like fighting against something. I just did not know that there were things that you shouldn't do because you're a girl. That wasn't something that was in our upbringing. So I just get on and do what I want to do and do my risk assessment and do all of those things and then go make my offers. And I don't worry about it. But yeah, we find find now more so, because the bigger deals that we're doing, and it is exploding at the moment, the more we're then being pulled into who you're talking to. So when it's an estate agent and I'm putting my offers forward, I do it under a written pack. I was in a group with, or I'm in a group with Sarah Point and Ryan, who taught me to do that, which is a really good process. And I'm really open about what I'm offering, how I'm doing it. So I don't get into well, we say it's worth this and we're going to offer that, and then we'll all negotiate down to here. We just don't entertain that. And it kind of blows people's mind a bit that we do it differently. And we'll be in and we'll have bought a property whilst people are still thinking about how they're going to negotiate it and how they're going to chip money down to get this absolute best price. I very much come at it the other way, that go, what is this worth to me when it's done up? How can we make that the best for both parties involved?
I love that. And I'm curious to know, from your perspective, can women be as wealthy as men?
Yes, they can. Individually, we absolutely all can. I think it's going to be a long time before, as a collective, we are there. And I think a lot of that is down to the self-depreciation, as we've just said, the worry, the pension gap, all of those things. We need to be able to start teaching our daughters how to manage those things and how to overcome them. To be investing, how to invest safely, how to, manage your own pension or not. If you're not going to have a pension, I spoke to you earlier about Mark Wright. One of the things that he said once is he'll never put money in a pension because no one can invest his money as well as he can. And I really take that on board now, and I look at it every time. So I've got a small pension, a little bit of me going, how quickly can I get that out? How do I get that into a SAS? How do I run my own pension that invests in its own commercial properties? So yeah.
It's about thinking differently though, isn't it?